brother Shameel Sajjad, to our leaders and members of All India Islahi Center, Jeddah. My name is Mumtaz Ali Khan and I'm basically from Goa. I studied bachelor's in computer engineering, but I'm based in Jeddah for the last 18 years and currently working as a business manager at Al Azaz Chemicals, looking after coatings and construction business. I joined All India Islahi Center back in 2018. It was one of the best decisions of my life so far. All India Islahi Center was formally started by a few like-minded people with kind-hearted souls. I say so because their sole objective was to serve the community, going out of their way to take care of the poor and downtrodden, as well as to strike a togetherness and balance between the Indian community here in Jeddah. We have a lot of activities which we carry out through All India Islahi Center, and some of the activities are carried out in Jeddah, while some special activities like education and social welfare are carried out back in India. Some activities in Jeddah, when we started, it was for English madrasa for children, where we teach Quran, Hifz, and Hadith, and things like that. We also have an understanding Quran classes for adults on a weekly basis on Saturdays, which is called QCC, Quran Certificate Course. Here we also give a basic knowledge of Arabic by dedicated teachers. So weekly Quran classes, leadership and self-development programs, and different seminars for self-development and enhancement of the community we organized through last few years. Some of them were 7 habits of highly effective people, discover yourself, my mohalla, my dream. And very recently, we had one business seminar, which was on financial investment and the importance of saving, which is very important for all of us. Back in India, we are targeting mostly rural areas which are downtrodden, which are poor. They don't have so many infrastructure or facilities. So here we divide our activities in education as well as in social welfare. On educational front, we are supporting schools in areas where there are no education facilities for the kids. In some of the areas which we have identified, we found that more than 10, 15 kilometers, square kilometers, there are no schools, which is very, it's really a pathetic situation for a developing country like India. So we identify these kind of areas and support the local people to set up educational schools for the kids. So far, we have supported around 4 to 5 schools with their infrastructure, setting up of teachers, their training, and the work is going on a continuous basis. We have set some KPIs as well, and we are trying to improve their education level. In terms of social welfare, we are taking care of providing some self-sustaining living to poor people and widows by giving them a pair of goats, which allows them to, have some kind of a living through the milk and take care of their daily bread. This is something which is very important also in the poor areas. Another important thing that we take care in social welfare is the basic need of water. We know that in the interiors of India, there is acute shortage of water. And in such areas which are identified, especially in the states of Bihar, Jharkhand, and West Bengal, we set up bore wells in these areas where there is a concentrated community area and make sure they are, they have access to this basic need. So far, we have installed, I think, around 100 bore wells, and the work continues to. So if you can see that these are only some of the activities we are trying to do through our efforts and also from support of like-minded people like you all. And therefore, we also request earnestly to join us. Let's join our hands together to do something which will not only serve us well in this world, but also excellently for us in Akhirah. With a brief introduction of All India Islahi Center, now let me introduce, before I hand over the floor to our speaker of the day, Brother Shameel Sajjad. Brother Shameel is an MBA from Lal Bahadur Shastri Institute of Management. He's holding a PG diploma in Islamic Economics and Finance from Al Jamia Al Islamia. Number of certifications in capital markets, in mutual funds. On a professional front, currently he holds designation of a CEO for a financial services and technology company. He's also a partner and CEO in Zirva Holdings. Not to stop here, he's also an entrepreneur. He's founded Sitara Hospitality Private Limited and Care Alternative Healthcare Private Limited. Furthermore, he is an avid writer. He's published many articles in publications of national and international repute. Also, a presenter of papers and talks in numerous conferences and seminars. We are pleased to have Brother Shameel Sajjad to enlighten us with information and knowledge on financial investments with reference to Sharia compliant stock markets. At the end of the talk, there will be a question and answer sessions, brothers, and you can always note down your questions in the chat box, or after the talk, you can take it up directly with the speaker. Thank you very much. And I call upon Brother Shameel to please take over the floor. Brother Shameel.
Yes, sir. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله السميع العليم والصلاة والسلام على رسول الأمين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. First of all, I would like to thank All India Islahi Center and the organizers of this webinar for taking up such an important topic during our times, contemporary times, which has got many dimensions like savings, investments, financial inclusion, and also participation of the general masses in the economic growth of a country, that is our country. Inshallah, we will be able to, if Allah permits, take up this particular topic in its whole essence and also throw some pointers towards what we actually need to have as an approach towards the stock markets, and also we will try to bring up some elementary points regarding the stock markets, how it functions, and what are the basic approaches to investing and trading, and also most importantly, what are the Sharia aspects of stock market investing and the operations of stock market. Now, please allow me to share my presentation on the screen.
Brother Shameel, if I appreciate if you can increase your volume.
Yes, sir. I am gradually increasing it. I feel it is better now.
Yes.
Is it better now? Okay, I'll take care of that, inshallah.
Thank you.
And is the presentation visible over there?
Not yet.
Not yet.
You can share the screen. Yes, it's visible now.
Okay, thank you. So I will just set the tone of our presentation, what we want to discuss in the next 45 minutes, what we should expect to gain out of this presentation. First of all, I am taking it up from a very elementary level, supposing that there will be many people who are not exposed to stock market till now and who have not come to the vicinity of stock market investing, and who would not have considered stock market investing as a viable option, particularly in their living circumstances and also from a Sharia point of view, from an Islamic point of view. So let us first take up the basic aspects of the stock market, like broadly the structure and functioning of stock markets, the importance of stock markets in modern economies. Then we will move on to the Sharia principles in Muawalat. I will be explaining what Muawalat actually denotes. Then we will go on and check the OFI Sharia screening norms for shares. OFI is Accounting and Auditing Organization for Islamic Financial Institutions. Then approach to stock markets for profitable investing, which has got a general implication. Having understood the Sharia aspects, how should a sensible person approach the stock markets, because it is a business, and any person who is entering into a business or an investment activity should have the know-how as to how to go about his investment and business activities. Then we will have a very short introduction to fundamental analysis and technical analysis, which are the two basic approaches to stock market investment and trading. Then we will have a brief discussion about the zakat, how we should discharge the zakat on stock market investments, which I think will benefit those people who are contemplating on entering into the stock markets and who are currently in the stock markets, inshallah. So let us first run across the functioning of the stock market. First, we should have an understanding as to what the stock market actually represents. So the modern economy, the complex.
Brother
Yes,
Shameel, sorry to interrupt. Can you put it in the PowerPoint show option? Because right now you're showing only the. Yeah, put it in the show. Yes.
Okay, sorry for that.
Yes, please.
So stock market is where companies gain their capital from, or the companies come to the stock markets to raise capital for their operations from the general public. So any business venture which actually want capital on a larger scale, which actually want to expand its operations, its distribution, etc., come to the stock markets for raising capital on a larger scale. And this is the basic function of the stock markets, with everything there, all the details to it, which we will be discussing. But the basic function of the stock market is to provide capital to the entities which are looking for large scale capital accumulation, and also mobilize the savings of the general public into the stock markets, into the companies which are looking for capital accumulation, and convert this particular saving into investment. So this is basically a very important economic function of converting passive savings into active investments, which participate in the economic development, economic activities of a particular country. So as we can see in this particular pictorial representation here, the capital is going to the company or the corporation, and against this capital, the company will issue shares, which are financial certificates, financial instruments, which represent proportionate ownership, or which represent certain rights and liabilities for the investors. So we have, while issuing shares, we have an issuer, which is the company, and we also have the shareholders. And what are the shareholders actually representing? The shareholders actually represent the partial ownership in these companies, in these entities which are taking up several economic activities. Then we have the stock exchange, where we have a primary market and a secondary market. And after the issue is done, after the company has raised the capital from the shareholders and issued shares, there is a secondary market whereby people exchange shares between them, because liquidity is something that is essential in a financial market. A person who has invested also need to have an exit from his investment at a time which is most opportune for him, at a time when he requires the funds back, And the stock exchange has got a mechanism for that also, where you can take the shares to the exchange, sell it to some buyer who is available there, and also convert it in funds. And whenever you are in an investment mode, and whenever you want to invest your funds, you can go to the stock exchange, pay the money, and get the shares of the companies which you want to invest in. So the issuance of shares by the companies is done through a process called the initial public offering, which we call the IPOs. And the shares go to the public, and through the IPOs, through the initial public offering, the funds for business requirements are earned or accumulated by the companies who actually are looking for the funds. Now, in a very simple way, we can represent this whole process of the operation of the stock markets as the listing of the company as the first step. A particular company lists itself on the stock market, which makes it legally eligible for that company to come up with an initial public offering, and it accesses the primary market and issues an initial public offering, that is the IPO. And a particular pre-authorized number of shares carrying a particular face value is given to the public at a predetermined price range. And the initial public offering, the people who have subscribed for the IPO gets the shares, and after a cooling off period, after a number of days, the trading in the secondary market begins. As I've already said, trading in the secondary market is nothing but the exchange of shares between people who already have the shares and people who want to acquire the shares after the IPO. So when you place an order on the exchange, for those people who don't understand, who have not spent time to understand the macro structure of the market, and who only have acquainted themselves with the order entry process and purchasing of shares, what we need to understand is that there are authorized people whom we call the brokers. They are the stock exchange members. All the people in a country, in India, can access the stock markets only through these people, these specialized people who are the members of the stock exchange, which we colloquially call the brokers. And when we place an order to buy or sell, the exchange confirms to the broker about this particular trade, and the exchange has a counterparty on the other side, or the exchange finds a counterparty on the other side, and the buying or selling is done. So this is what the stock exchange is there for. It acts as a single entry point for all the companies to access the capital, and also for all investors to access the shares of the companies which are trading in their country, all the public limited companies, and convert their savings into investments, which can go into various kinds of economic activities. And also, it also provides a mechanism of converting your shares into cash, and also again converting those cash into shares whenever the people want to access the stock exchanges. So we need to understand that the stock market is a very regulated mechanism. It is not an unregulated mechanism where anybody can do anything, but it's a very strictly regulated mechanism. And regulation is done by the Securities and Exchange Board of India, where it specifies the rules and regulations from time to time regarding the general operations and specific operations of companies. So we have mainly two main stock exchanges in India. We also had regional exchanges like at the capital of every major state in the country. But what the situation that we have today is that all these regional exchanges have stopped operations. Most of them are not operating today because of the advent of the internet, because of the facilities that have people gained over the past 1 decade, where anybody in any remote part of the country can open a demat account, a dematerialization account, a trading account with any broker. He does not have to be in the financial capital of India, that is in Mumbai. Wherever he is, in Kerala, in Madhya Pradesh, in Jharkhand, wherever he is, or in the far northeastern states of the country, anybody can access the stock markets. So the whole momentum has shifted to the National Stock Exchange and the Bombay Stock Exchange. So these two are the two most important functioning stock exchanges in the country. The National Stock Exchange was established in the year 1992 with the government of India promoting its foundation. And it is the largest stock exchange in India by volume and value. And we also have a much older exchange in India, the first exchange in Asia itself, which was established in 1875. And Asia's first stock exchange was Bombay Stock Exchange. And it is the largest, still very relevant. It is still the largest stock exchange in India in terms of the number of companies listed, by the sheer number of companies listed, whereby National Stock Exchange is the leader in terms of volume and value. Now, let us understand some critical functions in a very, very simple way about the stock market. What are the critical functions of the stock market? First of all, the stock market is the mechanism. We need to understand that stock market started functioning right after Industrial Revolution in England. As Industrial Revolution happened after the invention of the steam engine by James Watt, large scale production, large scale running of looms for textile industries became possible, and all the capital required for such large scale production was not to be found by some very few people, very few families who were in those business, but a situation was created where even larger amounts of capital could be used for a large scale production, and this enabled and this led to the foundation of stock exchanges, whereby business houses could access the money of public on a very large scale. So the basic function of the stock market is that it enables large scale production and distribution. Let us think about an economy whereby, especially in democratic states, whereby you don't have a stock exchange. The essential conclusion of that is that the mobilization of funds will not be possible. The large scale mobilization of funds will not be possible, and people will have to reduce the size of business operations and also the size of the companies which are engaged in various businesses and industries. So the most important function of a stock market is that it enables large scale production and distribution. Second, it converts savings to enterprise capital. Third, it distributes risk and reward to enterprise. It distributes the risk and reward of the enterprise to a large number of people, to the masses. So, whereas the rewards are concerned, what it means is that the functioning of the economy, the rewards and fruits of functioning of the economy reaches to the farthest of people who can just contribute their capital to those people who are actively running industries and businesses, and they also can have a share of the growth stories of countries. They also can have a share of the GDP growth. They also can have a share of the profits produced by the bigger corporations, etc. And as far as the distribution of risk is concerned, the risk is distributed in a more even way in the whole economy, where it reduces systematic shocks in an economy. Whenever the economy is not doing well, it does not affect a small area, or it does not affect a very small area in a big way, but it is spread into the whole masses based upon the participation of the masses, the degree of participation of the public in the stock markets. So that is also a very important economic function. And from a Sharia point of view, stock markets are important. Why we are saying that? It is not just to give stock markets an upper hand, but we should understand certain basic ideas which the Sharia puts forward. First of all, economic activities and contributing towards economic activities with one's wealth, whatever surplus wealth we have in our hands, Islam has a disposition that this should not be hoarded. This should not be hoarded in the form of cash or gold or any other physical asset, which does not generate employment, which does not generate economic activity, which does not generate any productive activity in an economy. But Islam has a disposition that whatever you have in surplus, beyond your needs for the immediate future and for your emergencies, that should be put to proper use. That should be put into the economy. Either you do a sadaqah, or you give it to the poor people, or you lend it a good loan to somebody, or you put it into some economic activities where employment will be created, where more production will happen, and a lot of people will benefit from your savings, and it is not kept as an idle reserve with you which does not produce anything in the economy. So as an enabler of this particular function, stock markets are important from a Sharia point of view. The only matter is that how the stock market functions, what are the fundamental concepts on which the stock market of a country functions, is the only differentiator between whether that stock market can be Sharia compliant, or whether that stock market can be accepted from a Sharia point of view. But the basic asl, the basic reason d'etre for the existence of a stock market is very much in compliance with Sharia. Second is that it substitutes interest-based debt capital with equity. This is a very important function of the stock market. When stock market is not there, when the stock market is not functioning, what the only thing that we have is that we have banks which lends capital based upon interest, and interest at the basic level is something that is Sharia repugnant, which Sharia does not allow or like, and which Sharia has condemned in the most severest of terms. Because Sharia thinks that economic activities should be realistic. It should not be based upon wrong dimensions and wrong contracts. So the existence of the stock markets brings up a strong substitute to debt capital issued by the debt markets and the banks, and it converts the whole economic activity into an equity based activity where people share the risk and reward. The Prophet of Allah said, Al-Kharaj bil-Laman, that is, revenue or profit is only through responsibility. Taking responsibility for whatever economic activity you are doing, accepting the risk in that, and going out with the risk, and keeping the risk in purview. You have to strive towards earning a revenue, and you have to strive towards earning a profit. So equity is the ideal concept in Islam rather than debt. Yes, Islam allows debt in certain conditions, but it never allows debt on the terms of interest accruing upon that. The debt in Islam is free of interest. But whenever we are talking about economic growth, whenever we are talking about economic activities, the ideal concept, the basic concept in Islam is that of equity, and stock markets provides that opportunity to base our economic activities on the basis of equity. Third, based on the Islamic outlook of sharing risk and reward instead of renting capital, which we have already discussed, which I have already covered in my description of these three basic fundamentals. Now we need to understand certain rules which we call as the qawaid in Sharia pertaining to human affairs in Sharia, because many people have these doubts like whether stock markets will be allowed. Is it permissible in Islam? Or certain other business activities, whether they are permissible in Islam? How do we understand actually what is permitted and what is not permitted as far as Islam is concerned, so that we can have a correct approach, so that we can have the right approach towards all these modern affairs like stock markets and other complex financial scenarios. So first of all, we need to understand the classification. Sharia is a very precise science. It has developed into a very precise science, and we need to understand certain basics in this regard. And whenever we are talking about the religion, it is not the same as the Sharia. Sharia is the code of law which the religion gives us. So the religion has given us some basis based on which we are discerning the laws of the religion as it is intended by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the Sharia has got four sources: Quran and Sunnah, which are the primary sources in Sharia. These are the primary sources in Sharia, Quran and Sunnah. Then we have Ijma, Ijtihad, and Qiyas, which are the secondary sources of the Sharia. Now, Ijma, Ijtihad, and Qiyas don't have any relevance in the absence of Quran and Sunnah. It is only based upon Quran and Sunnah that Ijma, Ijtihad, and Qiyas exist. It is only the usage of the Quran and Sunnah which are the primary sources. And we also know that Sharia has got certain maqasid. Sharia has gotten certain aims and objectives to fulfill, which is a detailed discussion of which is not within our purview. But what I'm going to say now is very important for understanding this particular concept in its whole sense. Now, in Sharia, the affairs of men, the affairs of human beings have been classified into various classes. We have ibadat, we have muamalat, we have akhlaq, etc., etc. Now, we will not go into any further classifications. For the purpose of our discussion, ibadat and muamalat are the central theme of our discussion. Like, what is the contrast of rules? What is the stand of Sharia and Islam as a religion towards these things is what we need to understand. First of all, ibadat, as we know, is the affairs between man and his creator. It is the affairs between the man and his creator. This is the definition of ibadat. Now, muamalat is the affairs of man to man. Fellow human beings have a lot of affairs among themselves, like trade, marriage, etc., etc. So many things fall into that category. So we have ibadat and muamalat, and we need to understand the basic qawaid pertaining these two very important aspects of human life. It is said that it is an accepted fact, it is a very clearly mentioned fact in Sharia that in ibadat, everything is prohibited except what is permitted and commanded. This is the basic qaida as far as ibadat is concerned. Al-aslu fil ibadati al-hadr. Al-aslu fil ibadati al-hadr. The basic command in ibadat is that of prohibition. What does that mean? Does that mean that ibadat is prohibited? No. It means only that in ibadat, no new innovations can be made. No new innovations can be made from the side of human beings. That is, in ibadat, Allah has given you a clear picture of what is compulsory on you, what is nafil for you, what is the sunnah of the Prophet regarding ibadat, and that is it. You have to follow that, and you don't have to invent anything into this. And it is also prohibited. It is also prohibited to invent anything. We know the very famous hadith that anything invented in religion is prohibited, and that is an invention. An invention is prohibited, and the place of invention is the nar, that is the hellfire. What does this mean? This does not mean that human beings cannot invent anything new. No, this particular hukum is only confined to the matter of ibadat. Al-aslu fil ibadati al-hadr, that is, prohibition is the basic rule in ibadat. Now, when it comes to muamala, that is the affairs between man and man, the affairs between human beings. What is the basic commandment of Sharia or the basic qaida of Sharia? In muamalat, everything is permitted except what is prohibited. Everything is permitted except what is prohibited. Al-aslu fil muamalati al-ibah. Al-aslu fil muamalati al-ibah. The basic rule in muamalat is permissibility. That is, you need proof for prohibition in muamalat. You don't have to ask whether we can do that business or whether we can do that business, whether we can eat that food or whether we can go to a certain place. Everything stands permitted except for whatever has been explicitly explicitly prohibited by the four sources, that is the sources of the Sharia. So when we understand this particular rule, our task has become very easy. Now, these are very basic rules which has been used from the time, Islam has been revealed through the last prophet, and this became coded. Like this has been the manhaj of the people who have been discerning rules in Sharia, that in muamalat everything stands permitted, and in ibadat everything stands prohibited except for what Allah has commanded and permitted. Okay, so where are we heading with this discussion? Why are we discussing all these things? I think this is the most important part of our whole exercise. The rest of the things we can study anytime. With we can take time to learn about the stock markets. We can take time and perfect our trading and investment methods. That has got nothing to do with Sharia. Now, if you want to be good in swimming, you have to practice swimming. You have to learn the basics of swimming. If you want to be good at driving, you have to learn the basics of driving and practice driving. So that is man jadda wajada. Everything in this world comes through tireless and continuous study and practice. So that can be taken up any time. But what we need to understand now is that what is the position of stock markets as far as Islam is concerned, Sharia is concerned, whether we can get involved there or not. That is our basic point of discussion. Now, as we have understood these two rules, let us progress further. Where does stock markets come? It comes in muamalat. And within muamalat, it comes in muawalat. What are muawalat? What is muawalat? Muawalat are those things within muamalat which people do for their worldly gains. That is financial transactions. Muawalat specifically refers to financial transactions in muamalat. Muamalat has got certain other things also apart from financial transactions. Fine. So now we need to understand, okay, fine. We have understood that we need to have prohibitions for something to be prohibited in muamalat and hence in muawalat, because muawalat is a subset of muamalat. We need to understand what is prohibited by Quran and Sunnah in muamalat and muawalat. Okay, then we can keep away from that. We can free our transactions from those kind of prohibitions. And surprisingly, we should know that we don't have many prohibitions in Islam. People have a notion that Islam prohibits so many things, and it prohibits a lot of things that Muslims don't have any place to be a part of the modern financial system. No, that is actually against the truth. If you count the prohibitions in muamalat, you can zero down to only three things. Islam has only prohibited three things in muamalat. One is riba, that is interest usury. What is interest? والقرض المشروط فيه زيادة المال على المستقرض وأجل على المستقرض. It is a loan which stipulates an excess on the borrower. That's it. Clear. So riba is prohibited in Islam. Gharar is prohibited in Islam. What is gharar? Gharar literally means uncertainty, but it has got a technical meaning in Sharia. All sorts of uncertainty does not fall under the within the ambit of gharar in financial transactions. Excuse me. So gharar has got a technical meaning, and the technical meaning of gharar is any unnecessary uncertainty that is removable within the elements of contract. So you are entering into a contract, you have the elements of contract, that is the parties to contract, the subject matter, the price, thaman, mabi, etc., etc., offer and acceptance, etc. These should be free from uncertainties so that people don't get cheated. People don't get what they don't expect. People don't get what they didn't ask for. Such situations have to be avoided. Transactions have to be transparent in Islam, and you don't have to create unnecessary uncertainties within transactions. So any uncertainty with regard to the price, with regard to the subject matter, with regard to the parties to contract, etc., have to be removed to the extent possible by human beings. That is the whole idea of gharar. Now the third thing that has been prohibited in muawalat is maisir, gambling. Now that also has got a technical meaning in Sharia. Everything people usually say that What is Maisir? What is gambling? Gambling are games of chance. That is one definition or one explanation given by people. Games of chance. What we need to understand here is that all games of chance don't fall within the purview of Maisir. And on the other side, it is not only games of chance which falls within the purview of Maisir. Even even in activities which require physical and psychological skills, there can be Maisir. So if it fulfills one definition in muawalat, that will be regarded as Maisir as far as Sharia is concerned. What is that? What is that definition? The gain of one person becoming the loss of other. The gain of one person becoming the loss of other in muawalat, not in tabarruat. Tabarruat is a whole another set of activities as far as muamalat is concerned. What does tabarruat mean? Tabarruat mean all those things which people do not for gaining a worldly gain, but for some other intentions, like sodaqah. Sodaqah is done not for worldly gain, but it is done for the akhirah as the primary objective. It may have many other gains for the person who is engaging in that, but that is not the uh, part that Sharia discusses. All that falls within the category of tabarruat. Now, muawalat are those things which explicitly confine to people's business transactions. That is, you are engaging in that particular transaction for a worldly gain. You want to gain something. That is the only reason why you are going into that particular transaction. Now, in such transactions, which is called as muawalat, there should not be maisir. That is, the gain of one person should not become the loss of another person. There should be an exchange of value. There should be an exchange of value. So when you are conducting business, you gain something, the other person also gains something. Okay. So when the element of maisir is there, then that will make the financial transactions batil. These are the only three prohibitions in financial transactions per se, which are this you can find only in financial transactions. Riba cannot occur somewhere else. It is confined to muawalat. Gharar, as it is literally meant, as it is technically meant in Sharia, can occur only in financial transactions. Maisir can only happen in financial transactions. So these are the three specific prohibitions in Islam as far as muawalat is concerned. Now we need to come to the specific point of uh, stock markets, and we need to understand we have regulatory bodies for Islamic financial institutions also. Islamic finance has advanced so much. So many Islamic financial institutions are available these days, are functioning these days in many parts of the world, in the Europe, in the North American countries, in the GCC, etc., etc. And we have standardized many of the processes and many of the Sharia concepts as to be applied to various financial markets. So, keeping in view the world in which we are living, and also the economic conditions that we are facing, the accounting and auditing organization, in the light of the Sharia principles, they have created accounting and auditing organization for Islamic financial institutions have created various Sharia standards, and Sharia standard number 21 of OFI is with regard to financial papers, that is shares and bonds. And what does OFI say? After consultation of various fiqh academies, after taking the fatwa of many erudite scholars which are on its board, it has produced this Sharia standards number 21, which was issued in its current form on May 20, 2004. Now, these are the major three considerations as far as stock market operations are concerned, and I'm only talking about the exchange of shares, issue of shares and exchange of shares between people. Now, there is a business creed which is very essential, which is the basis. Second is there is a leverage screen. The third is there is an income screen. Now we need to understand that Many of these screening norms also takes into account the macroeconomic factors like we are living in an interest-based economy. The world economic order is built upon the function of interest. There is no way a particular country on its own or a particular person, in spite of his best efforts, can be fully free and cut out from these macroeconomic factors. That is not possible. It will be possible only when we move towards a more interest free economy on a world level, and when the major economic order changes in that particular direction. What are the three screening norms? First, we have a business screen that is very simple. ولا تعاونوا على البر والتقوى ولا تعاونوا على الإثم والعدوان. That is, you should come together in deeds of goodness, and you should not cooperate in deeds of vice and deeds which are prohibited by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what we have to see, whether the core business of a particular company, the purpose for which a particular company or corporation is plotted, is Sharia compliant or not. So we cannot have the shares of conventional banks, financial institutions, which are based on the principle of interest, then Sharia repugnant entertainment, and companies that produce alcoholic beverages, casinos, etc., etc. You cannot hold the shares of these companies, and you cannot transact also in such shares. The second is the debt of the company. This is because of a rule called the Bay'at Dayn in Islam. And in Sharia, there is a rule called Bay'at Dayn, that is the transfer of debts. So if a particular company has got 30% of debt when compared to its market capitalization is the market value of the company, which is calculated by share price multiplied by outstanding number of shares. So when you have 30% of debt with regard to the market capitalization of the company, that becomes the major component. That becomes a major component in a particular share, and that transaction can be done only on face value, and that transaction cannot be done on arbitrary values on a particular secondary market. Now the third thing, companies with Sharia repugnant income, that is this particular screening norm we have to understand very clearly. This is not a permanent screening norm for shares, but the basic presumption under this particular screening norm is that any company which functions in an interest-based economy, or for that matter, any individual who is living in an interest-based economy, will have some kind of interest infiltration into its account, or interest infiltration into its income, or its income in case of companies. So if the interest-based income is greater than 5% of the total revenue, till that point, 5%, 1/40th, what OFI has done, it will give some tolerance level. Okay, the company is incorporated for something else. It is not dealing in interest-based activities. It's a construction company. It's a chemical manufacturing company, whatever it is. But up to 5% of the total revenue is tolerable. That also you have to purge out. That we will discuss later if time permits. If 5% is touched or crossed, that is, the profit and loss statement of the company says that it has earned interest income a particular amount, whatever is the total sales of the company, you just take a ratio of that. It is coming above 5%, you have to keep out of that company, on the assumption that the company is deliberately making interest-based investments. Okay, I hope that is clear. Then on specific transaction side, that was regarding the basic nature of securities. On the transaction side, Sharia does not permit short selling of securities because of the basic rule that no person can sell anything which is not in his ownership. So as far as short selling is concerned, what you do is that you take a loan of shares from your broker and you sell it, and you want to purchase that back at a lower price so that you can benefit from the price difference. So to the counterparty, the person who has bought from you, the broker is delivering that shares. This is not allowed in Sharia from many aspects, because shares cannot be lent also. Shares cannot be the subject matter of a lending contract, as far as Sharia rules are concerned. Then you have a futures and options market. You cannot do futures transactions on shares. There are certain commodities on which you can do futures transaction, and most of the commodities are allowed for futures transactions, like agricultural commodities. We have a salam contract in Sharia, etc. But as far as shares are concerned, it is not an eligible commodity for futures transactions. It falls within the class of commodities which where the compulsory spot transaction is mandatory as far as Sharia is concerned. Then you cannot avail interest on margin. When you see these futures transaction, you can also find that there is miser in that, because the whole futures and options market is a zero sum game. It's a zero sum game. Whatever is the amount of losses on this side, you have the exact amount of gains on the other side. So it is just a transfer of payments that is happening in the futures and options market as far as shares are concerned, because nobody is gaining out. If you take the cash market, there is a permanent upside to the cash market. As far as it goes up, the economy is benefiting. But there are no such characteristics to the futures and options market. It's a zero sum game. Then you cannot avail loans based on margins. That is, sorry, margins based on interest, loans based on interest, whether it is from the financial institutions or from the broker for transacting in shares. That's also prohibited as far as Sharia, this thing is concerned. So we have a Sharia trading process, and you have to confine your investment and trading process to this process. What you can do in the stock market, you can buy Sharia compliant shares. You can hold it for certain time. It does not matter how long you hold it, because Sharia does not stipulate any time frame for holding and selling. It can be immediate. It can be after 2 days. It can be after years, etc. That does not matter. But you have bought shares, you have held it, and you have to sell it at a higher price. And for the risk that you are assuming in this process, and for your participation in the economic activities, you are eligible to take a profit from this activity, and this profit is allowed by Sharia. That is, there is nothing in Sharia which prohibits this basic kind of a participation in the stock market. Now we have certain other things also to cover, like the fundamental analysis, the technical analysis, etc. But it's already 10 o'clock. So I would like to know from the organizers whether we can go forward, or is it time to conclude? You please tell me, sir, what should I do? Hello?
Yeah, Siraj Saab.
Sir, it is already 10, and do we have more time, or have we got to stop?
Maybe we can do 10 minutes more. Siraj Saab, do you have any suggestion?
I think we can still go on for another 10 minutes with your presentation.
Thank you,
because
sir.
we start at 6:40 actually.
Yeah, and
Right.
it's quite interesting also.
Fine.
Yeah, please continue.
Okay, 10, I will go.
Very important
And
to continue.
after that, okay. So as we have understood the Sharia stance towards the stock markets, we cannot stop there. Okay, we have understood that the stock market as a whole is not prohibited as far as Islam is concerned. Yes, there are transactions in the stock market which we should keep away from, because the basic rules of Sharia does not allow us to engage in that, like the futures and options trading. In the futures and options market, we cannot take interest-based loans to leverage our positions in the market, etc., etc. But as far as good companies, whether they are run by Muslims or non-Muslims, does not matter, because there are no Sharia rules which confine us from participating in the general economic activities of a country. On the contrary, we should come forward to be a part of this particular economic activity, because it is our country, it is our economy, and we have a right to participate, and we have an eligibility to participate. If we don't participate, what will happen is that there will be financial inclusion issues which our community is facing today. If you take the Sajjad committee report, it says that the representation of Muslims in the financial markets is lower than their representation in the civil services. Civil services, we know what is our representation. It is minuscule. But what we don't know is that when we see our representation in the financial markets, it is still pathetic than the civil services. So we have grave financial inclusion issues in the northern states, also in other southern states and northeastern states also, where we are way behind the scheduled castes and scheduled tribes as far as our inclusion in the financial system is concerned. Anyway, so having known that we don't have any problem in participating in a Sharia compliant manner in the stock market, what we need to do from there is that for those people who are contemplating about participating in the markets in any level, whether at a very high level like investing a lot of funds, or at a very basic level starting with an SIP or starting with regular savings from his monthly uh, salary, etc. We need to understand before getting into the market, we need to understand that this is a specialized area. Like any other area, we have engineers among us, we have doctors among us. So what we need to have is that the right kind of framework. What we need to have is the right kind of knowledge. So there are basically two approaches to participate in the stock markets from a investor point of view. One is the fundamental analysis. These are two schools of thought, and practically a person need to have an understanding of both in order to be successful and effective in the market. So it is the science and art of picking investable companies, knowing which company is not worth of investment, knowing which company is good for investing, knowing which companies to avoid from an investment point of view. It is that particular area of study which tells you, if you learn it, the fundamentals of it, you will be able to tell which company requires and deserves your investment and which company needs to be avoided. So there are 5 areas in broadly, very broadly in fundamental analysis. It is analyzing a company's profitability and growth potential using income statements, that is the profit and loss accounts. You can analyze the profit and loss accounts of the companies. By the way, I tell you that all public limited companies should publish their financial statements on their websites and also in newspapers according to the prevailing corporate law in India and everywhere in the world, because these are public limited companies. Their functioning should be in front of the public, what they have gained, what they have lost, how they have functioned. This is communicated through financial statements. And analyzing a company's profitability and growth potential using income statements, there are various tools to do that. Second is measuring a company's staying power, that is how long a company can be there in business, whether it is a company which is going to go bankrupt tomorrow, or whether the company's financial position is deteriorating, or whether it is improving, or whether it is stable or unstable. All these things we can gauge through reading of the balance sheet. Then you can track cash with the statement of cash flows. What is the cash generating ability of the company? Is it just the accounting gimmicks that the company is showing on the income statements? You can gauge through that using the cash flows, using financial ratios to pinpoint investment. That is, use certain financial ratios. You can actually narrow down your investment to certain companies which will be very safe, which will be growing at very decent rates, and which will have the power, which will have the basic qualifications to stay in business for a very long period of time. And also reading the adjacent statements, which we call the proxy statements, to get investment clues, which is a minor part of the whole thing. So from a profitability, from an income statements, what you can, I am just rushing towards this because I'll just cover technical analysis also, so that people get a clue what to look for in the future, where they should concentrate their efforts if they are trying to get into the stock markets. So profitability statements, you have to assess the revenue to understand whether a company is growing or shrinking, assess the profits of the company to understand whether it is creating any wealth for its shareholders, or it is just sales minus expenses zero or a negative. That should not be the case with business enterprises. And what is the earnings per share and its growth, to understand where the company is going to be in 10 years or 15 years, just having a projections in front of us. And the company's current valuations using the price earnings ratio and the price earnings growth ratio. Now, fundamental analysis, as far as the balance sheet is concerned, you have the debt equity ratio, which is the most important thing, because leverage is a destabilizing factor. That is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, keep away from interest. It is going to destabilize you. If you are a big businessman, debt can ruin you. It will kill you. That is why, it is for that maslaha, your own well-being, that Allah has said that you keep away from interest. So we need to analyze how much a company is leveraged, and whatever be the size of the company, whether it is a multinational corporation, whether it is a $1 trillion company or a $1 billion company, having a lot of debt has got the potential to bring that great enterprise to the grounds. This we have to understand. So always check on the debt equity ratio of the company, and any debt above 30% we are not allowed. So Allah has saved us from getting into such high leverage companies. If you are observant of the Sharia rules, so still you keep it down. Like you take the actual debt equity ratio, and if anything is about 20%, don't even consider about investing in that company. You will save a lot of pain. Okay, ability to meet short-term and long-term liabilities of the company. What is the working capital adequacy of the company, and how efficiently the company is using its assets, and what is the efficiency of using cash, etc., etc. Now, financial ratios, some important financial ratios to mention here: return on equity, accounts receivable turnover. These are preliminary things that you should just go through before putting your money into any company. And return on equity and price earnings ratio and debt equity ratio are of paramount importance. The rest of the things can wait also. Price to book ratio, earnings yield, dividend yield, etc. I'll just give you a glimpse of the technical analysis. The whole idea is that just because a company is fundamentally strong, company is a very good company, does not necessitate that the whole company's price is going to go up in the immediate future. That will be told to you by the demand and supply for those shares in the market. And how can you gauge that? There is a whole discipline of study called the technical analysis, which is applicable to shares, commodities, to any market. It is basically the science of studying, or the art of studying the demand and supply action. The basic idea is to plot the demand and supply on a graph, where on the x-axis you have the time, and on the y-axis you have the price movement of the shares. From this particular basic chart, you can have a lot of information about the demand and supply action in this particular company. This is a very basic chart, and you can develop that basic chart into many sophisticated formats, which enables for a lot of examinations and studies. Like this is the trend line. What does the trend line tell you? It tells you the range within which a particular company's share is moving within a particular period of time. Now, this is a very important information as far as investments are concerned, because you have a clear idea about how the price is behaving. You need extraordinary events for the price to break these trend lines, whether upward or downward. So we only have time for cursory introductions. Inshallah, if Allah permits, maybe some other time we will discuss all these things. This is a candlestick chart. Many people might be knowing all these things, but for the benefit of those people who are actually thinking about coming into the market, I am just introducing all these things to them. This is a candlestick chart. These were developed by the Japanese for a further sophisticated way of demand and supply studies. The meaning, there is a way to read the candlestick charts. And what you are seeing here is the on the lower side you have the support, that is the lower side of the trend line, below which a price doesn't move in normal circumstances. These levels are called support levels. And on the upper side you have the resistance levels, that is within a trend line, levels which the stock is not able to breach, because whenever these levels are touched, a great amount of supply comes in, great amount of selling comes in, and it outpowers the demand in the stock. Now these are very moving towards advanced concepts like chart patterns like head and shoulders pattern, and numerous number of patterns which we will not take up here. And I think there is a trade management process also. I think I should mention the zakat aspect, because there will be many people who will be invested in the stock market now itself. So this is a very important thing as far as Muslims are concerned. Whatever assets you have, if it is zakatable, if it attracts a zakat, you have to pay zakat. And as far as shares are concerned, this is how you should pay your zakat. That is, if you are holding shares for trading purpose, that is, you are treating the shares as uh, assets, as papers, as financial papers which you will sell off when the price rises, then you have to pay your zakat on market value on the zakat date. Zakat date can be the date from which you started trading, one lunar calendar, or a date on which you pay zakat on all your assets, like your cash surplus, etc. It can be Ramadan one. It depends upon you. So on that zakat date, if there is nisab, and the nisab is calculated by the price of gold. Okay, so you have to pay at the rate of gold and other cash assets, that is 2.5 percentage, and or it is 1 by 40th of the market value. You have to pay that. That is obligatory on us. And if you are holding shares in a company in 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 a very long term investment mode, that is, you don't have any intention of selling that, you are treating that as your company, and you are staying invested for your lifetime, or for a, or it can be a company that you have started. Now if you have started a company, if you are the promoter, you will not take your shares and sell it off in the market every day or every other day. In that case, the net current assets on zakat, that is the net current asset method, you have to find the net current assets, that is total current assets minus total current liabilities, because your land, building, plant, machinery, etc. don't have any zakat. They are exempt from zakat. It is only the total current assets minus total current liabilities, and you have to pay 2.5 percentage on that. Inshallah, with that, we have a basic styles of trading like scalping, swing trade, positional trade, etc. Maybe that we will take up in the question answer section. Inshallah, with that, I leave the uh, presentation. I leave the dais to the organizers. Sir, please take it forward from here.
Uh, okay, thank you so much, Brother Shameel. And we can have the question and answer session now. Participants, please come ahead with your questions. I think we already have few questions here. And maybe if you allow me to start, I will start with the first question which was asked here.
Sure, sir.
There is a someone said there was a Sharia share list available on BSE website. Is this list Sharia compliant?
Yeah. So we have already talked about the OFI screening norm, that is Accounting and Auditing Organization of Islamic Financial Institutions. What they have stipulated is a working framework for screening of shares in the economies that we live in. So what Bombay Stock Exchange has done is that they had an official contract with an agency, an institution called TASIS, Taqwa Advisory and Sharia Investment Solutions, which is based out of Bombay. They have a formal agreement, and the screening part of the whole thing is done by TASIS, that is Taqwa Advisory and Sharia Investment Solutions. I don't know whether that contract is still alive, whether they are still doing it or not, but TASIS is providing Sharia compliant list to investors on a subscription basis. You can pay a particular amount to them, and you can have it delivered to your mailbox. So whether they have that formal agreement between them, I am not aware. There was an index launched in 2010 called the BSE TASIS Sharia 50. That was the first Sharia compliant index of stocks as far as India is concerned. And also you should know one factor: in the whole world, when you apply the standard Sharia screening process to the stock market, India has the largest number of Sharia compliant shares. India has the largest number of Sharia compliant shares, not the GCC countries, not the North American countries, but India has the largest number of Sharia compliant shares which passes the Sharia screening norm in the whole world we are talking. And it is even bigger than the whole GCC countries put together, and add Pakistan and Bangladesh to that. We still have larger number of Sharia compliant shares in India. So the BSc listing, I am not able to, whether the list is still available, I don't know. And whether it is updated, I am not able to say. You can get in touch with the Tahsis people, because they were providing these screening services. Even you yourself can do the Sharia screening from a, if not on a commercial scale, for your own investment purpose. There are, the screen, what are the screening norms. You can apply that. If you can read the financial statements of companies, it is possible for a person who is well versed with accounting metrics and all. But the rest of the people who don't have that kind of a time also, they will have to take the help of the screening company.
Okay, that was the question from Muhammad Ajmal. Next question is from Mr. Nabil. He's asking, is technical analysis is speculation?
No, technical analysis is not speculation. First of all, we need to define what is speculation, because speculation is a very generic terminology which is used in different meanings in different contexts. Even conventional financial people use the word speculation, but they don't essentially mean what we call speculation in Sharia. Speculation in Sharia is that scenario where you don't have any intention of taking delivery. That is, for example, if you are participating in the futures market, everybody knows that nobody is going to take delivery of the shares. What is being done is that certain contracts are made on the exchange, which people change hands according to the movement of the market and according to the movement of that individual share. Okay. At the end of the day, on the expiry day, cash settlement is what is happening. No shares will be delivered to anybody's demat account. So nobody has got the intention of taking delivery. This is speculation. This is just passing on the ups and lows to other people, and you yourself trying to be safe. Let them bear the loss. Okay, that is speculation. But technical analysis is a science which is founded on basic scientific assumptions, which actually tries to study what is the demand and supply action in a particular share or commodity. You can apply that to crude oil if you want to know how gold prices will move, or how the crude oil prices will move in the future, in the near term. You can apply technical analysis and see what are the trends like, what is the supporting volume, etc., etc. So technical analysis is not speculation. They're very different things.
Okay, thank you so much. We have a couple of questions which are already answered by you, like paying zakah on stock market investments, already answered by you. And also there was a question on 30% debt, already answered. There is another question, is it halal to buy intra share, by Mr. Mushtaq?
Okay. What he meant was intraday, right?
Yeah.
That is buying and selling shares on the same day.
Same day, delivery day, and sold on the same day. Yeah.
Yeah. So you bought certain shares today. The questioner wants to know whether it is permissible to sell the shares today.
Same day,
there is nothing which prohibits the sale of a share on the same day, because when you place a buy order, on the stock exchange, there is a clearing and settlement process which will take care of the settlement of the shares. That is, when you buy, it is taken for granted, or it is taken care of by the clearing corporation that your payment will be reaching the seller. There is a counterparty on the other side. Your payment will reach him, no matter what, whether you sell today or you sell tomorrow. The whole settlement will be done. So, Sharia, there are two types of ownership: Milkiya al-Hukmi and milkiya al-haqiqi, that is actual ownership, which is physical possession. Like I am holding this particular book on my hand, that is haqiqi, and hukmi is constructive ownership. It is sufficient to have constructive ownership in Sharia for Sharia to regard a particular person having ownership of a particular subject matter. In the case of shares, what we are talking about is that you have put order 100 shares, for example, TCS. Okay, the share has been executed. Now, what is left now? The payment has to go from your trading account to the broker, which the balance of which you have already kept there, and the seller has to receive the price, which will be taken care of by the clearing corporation. Okay, so there is nothing wrong in buying a share and selling it at the same day. Not even there is nothing wrong, after selling after a few minutes, right?
Okay.
Now, leveraged intraday is a different thing. I want to tell you this also, because the essential implication of the question is also that people take leverage from the broker and trade on the same day without any objective of taking delivery. They just want to make a higher gain using the leverage provided by the broker. Now you should very clearly know that this practice will only result in failure. This practice will only result in eroding of your capital very fast, because there are university studies which show that leveraged intraday is not sustainable. 95% of people lose money within the medium term in leveraged intraday. So don't go for leverage,
Okay.
because if you are doing it with your own money, you bought a share, it did not go as per your expectation. You can always take a delivery and wait for the price to get better. But in leverage intraday, it is not possible. You will have to square off at the end of the day, or the broker will compulsorily square off your position. So there is a lot of uncertainty. It is detrimental to your wealth and time, and anything that is harmful for you, Sharia does not allow. In its broad sense, you have to keep away from leverage intraday. That will only ruin your psychology. That will only ruin your money, and that will take you away from the proper investing framework which is required for long-term success in the market. And I'll just give you this thing for the
Okay.
thing that I have done. That is clause number 3/2 of Sharia standard 21. This is office Sharia standards that I'm showing you.
Yeah.
This is office Sharia standards. This is a compilation of the Sharia standards. If you go to Sharia standard number 21 and paragraph 3/2, you can find this particular answer which you have asked. That is, it is
Okay.
permissible for a person to sell share on the same day. There is nothing Sharia prohibits in that. Okay.
Okay, quickly, because I think we will be running out of time in another 10 minutes or so, and we have a lot of questions actually. But maybe we can quickly cover up a few more of them, and then remaining questions we can drop the answers by emails or something like that.
Yeah.
Coming back to next, quickly in a brief, what is the generally accepted period of long term?
See, short term, long term does not actually have a definite meaning in the market. It is only a notion that anything that is less than 1 year is short term, and everything which is above 1 year or 3 years is long term. And this classification does not have much meaning also. Okay, we can consider 1 year as the barrier, because in one financial year, companies will come out with their results. So you know how the company has performed or not. It's the only relevance. Otherwise, everything is very much relative. You need to have a clear strategy, like what kind of an investor or trader you are. This is very important in the market. I am talking about the technical sides, because without this understanding, you will end up with these wrong strategies, which is not suitable for your position in the market. Inshallah, we'll take up that later, inshallah.
Okay, another question from Abdul Hamid. Quickly, day trading or cash without taking broker margin in equity stocks is allowed or not?
That is the same question. That is
Yeah.
intraday, but you cannot short sell in intraday. Short selling is not allowed, whether it is in intraday or delivery, because you cannot sell whatever is not in your ownership, and you cannot borrow shares for trading also, because shares have ribavi characteristics. There are certain commodities in Sharia called ribavi, which will lead to riba.
Okay.
Futures transactions have been prohibited in shares. For that, in gold, silver, in shares, currencies, futures transactions are not allowed as far as Sharia is concerned. So not short selling. You can do with your own cash. You have a ample cash. For example, you have 20, 30 lakh rupees. Okay, you want to employ a part of your capital for very short-term trade. This is perfectly permissible in Sharia. There is nothing against that. But don't take leverage, because leverage will ruin your capital.
Okay. Is forex halal option?
Forex, as I already told, there are two types of markets in Forex. One is the spot market, one is the futures market. Futures market is not halal because الذهب بالذهب والفضة بالفضة والتمر بالتمر. In the hadith of the Prophet, the Prophet lists 6 categories, 6 commodities on which futures transactions are not allowed. And what is the characteristic of these? These are somewhere related to money. These are somewhere related to money, or they were used as currencies in Prophet's time, because it was a semi-barter economy. So in currency, you cannot do futures transactions. You can do spot. You can give 73 rupees and buy $1. But this contract has to be culminated at spot. You cannot say that you give me $1, I will pay you 73 rupees on December 1. That is futures. Futures is not allowed in currencies as far as Sharia is concerned. So spot you can do. You can buy dollars today, and you wait for appreciating the dollar. It became 78 rupees. You sold on a profit. No issue. Spot only. No futures. Inshallah.
Okay. What about mutual funds? Very quickly.
Mutual funds are only an extension of stock markets, where people who don't have a time to manage their investment, and also don't know how to buy shares and don't want to take a huge level of risk, because mutual fund portfolios are very diversified and they have professional managers. So essentially they are equities only, but mutual funds don't observe Sharia principles. But we have to observe Sharia principles. So we have Sharia compliant mutual funds in the market, which in their scheme information document explicitly say that this mutual fund scheme is run according to Sharia principles for our brothers who are observant of Sharia. You have two such Sharia compliant mutual funds in the Indian market. One is the Tata Ethical Fund. Tata has got so many mutual fund schemes, money market scheme, etc. But Tata Ethical Fund, they have put in the scheme information document, this is a Sharia compliant mutual fund scheme. So they will not buy anything which is against the Sharia rules that we have already prescribed here. Then you have another one, Taurus Ethical Fund, which is run by a company called Taurus Asset Management Company, and that is also a Sharia compliant fund. These are the two Sharia compliant funds available in the stock market. You should not go and invest in general market schemes, mutual fund scheme, because there is no obligation to observe Sharia. They will put their money according to their asset allocation strategy. They will not observe Sharia. But in these two schemes, they simply have put it for, they have informed SEBI also that this will be observing Sharia rules.
Is there a Sharia book which gives us some rulings about shares? Is there anything that you can
Yes, sir.
spell out?
I just showed you. I mentioned in my presentations also. This is a copy of that Sharia standards by Accounting and Auditing Organization for Islamic Financial Institutions. This is a world level conglomeration of Islamic financial institutions. All Islamic financial institutions, Islamic banks, Islamic insurance companies are all members of this particular body. This particular body is headquartered in Manama, Bahrain, and their Sharia board consists of all the top-notch erudite scholars of our time who are well versed in deen and also in muamalat. They give the fatwa. Based on that fatwa, they convert into Sharia standards. This is freely downloadable from OFI website also. It is OFI Sharia standards. They have other standards also like accounting standards. In Sharia standards, you can find how you should be actually dealing in the financial markets rather than the crude form of the rule like this is permitted, this is not permitted. It is translated into modern day financial transactions and put into this particular book. This has more than 1,000 pages.
Okay, Farzan is asking, is trading of Bitcoin allowed in Sharia?
Trading of Bitcoin, first thing, Bitcoin is a currency. So the first rule that we have put forward in the case of currencies, no futures transaction in whatever currency, whichever currency, it's not permissible. Only spot transactions are allowed. The second thing about Bitcoin and other currencies is that you never know for how long these particular coins are going to be in vogue, because there is no actual government mandate to such coins. You take the Riyal, it is issued by the Saudi government. Now you take the Indian rupee, it is issued by the Indian government. So currency has got a lot of implications. You never know whether Bitcoin is going to be in usage or in circulation after 5 years. Okay, nobody gives you an absolute guarantee like Bitcoin is going to be there. I don't know whether any government organization has approved Bitcoin as their official currency or they have given a guarantee. I'm not aware because I have not gone deep into that subject. So Bitcoin as a currency, you have to observe all the rules based on this particular currency exchange. You cannot do futures transactions, so you don't do futures transaction on Bitcoin. Second thing, I'm not saying it is related to Sharia, but I am saying it as an apprehension as to what will be the future of the Bitcoin. If you invest heavily in Bitcoin, if it becomes worthless, all your money will be lost. So be careful about that aspect.
Okay, one last question for the day, I would say from Ms. Aisha. Can we buy a share if it's Sharia, either as per Tasis or Islamically, or should we stick to one? She says Tasis follows the total assets approach and Islamic follows market capitalization. What is your take?
See, that is following the assets, total assets approach, that is debt divided by total assets. What will happen is that it will screen out a lot more shares from the whole system, because Islamically takes market capitalization. The market capitalization of any functioning company will be more than the book value. This is a known fact. Otherwise, book value and market capitalization, which will be higher. Normally, market capitalization will be higher. That is what OFI also seeks. OFI in its Sharia standards does not ask us to go by the debt. And they have their own ideas for that, their own fatwas for that. That is enough. But from an investment point of view, let me tell you, Tasis approach is more prudent. Why? Because market capitalization of a company is very, very, ephemeral kind of a thing. It changes all the time. Second thing, if a company is faces a situation where there is a debt situation in front of the company, how can the company discharge its debt? It cannot use its market capitalization to discharge. The moment the company has a financial trouble, market capitalization will come down because the market will push down the price of the share. Now, all that the company has its disposal is the assets of the company to discharge of any debt. So, following this Tasis standard, you have already, you have already fulfilled the Sharia requirement also, and you also have, you are also financially much more prudent than the Islamic League. Another thing we should know, we should not blindly follow any agency. Okay, you can use their services, you can use their inputs, etc., etc. But you should also cultivate an habit of looking the balance sheet of the company. What is the actual debt figure there? What is the actual asset figure there? On top of referring to these particular lists to double check, because a lot of technical issues can happen with websites and all. Maybe the list is not updated, the figures didn't get updated, etc. So always on an individual capacity, vet whatever information is given by these particular websites and ensure yourself that whatever information is given is right. Okay, so you can choose whatever you want, but don't follow anything blindly, because they are also human beings sitting like us. They are screening thousands of companies and errors can happen. Okay, so you should leave a margin for that, and sure, on your own side for Sharia compliant and also for financial prudence, because you get the debt of a company wrong, all your investment is going to be in danger.
Yeah.
Inshallah.
Okay, great. Great. So thank you so much. First of all, I would like to thank all the participants, because we are really running out of time. We've almost passed 7 minutes more than the time. And coming back to our conclusion, I would like to thank all the participants who made their time available to know and learn about this financial markets. Importantly, a big thank you to Brother Shameel for your insights, knowledge, and information, because there are a lot of things which for me as well were new in this presentation. So thank you so much. And last but not the least, thank you to all the leaders and members of All India Islahi Center for organizing such a great seminar. I would also request all the participants to drop in their numbers in the chat box, and also contact the numbers provided by All India Islahi Center members to communicate later if you would be interested to join our group where we serve the community, or even just to contact you in future, because we will be having many more such presentations in near future as well. Inshallah, biznillah. So thank you very much all. And it was a pleasure to host this seminar. I thank you all for your time and this presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you all the participants for your kind attendance. Thank you so much for the organizers. Thank you. May God bless us. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Stay safe, stay healthy, inshallah.
Can you close the meeting?
Yeah,
I'm just, Sameer bhai, I'm just trying to get the names and the contact of all the members who are still there in the group.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's see if they can also put their names and details. So Jazakallah khair, Brother Mumtaz, mashallah, tabarakallah. It was a great session, mashallah, tabarakallah.
It was, I think, push that was required from you and Samir sir.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. We have some more members who are still giving us their names and contacts. So once we are done that, I will end the meeting. All right. So Jazakallah khair for all the members. I think one by one we can leave the meeting so that we can end up the meeting. And inshallah, looking forward to seeing you at All India Islahi Center group. Okay, brothers Samir, Jazakallah khair, brother Mumtaz, and all the members of All India Islahi Center.
Thank you, sir. Thank you
Jazakallah
very
khair
much
for
to
joining.
Samir Saab and Siraj Saab, Aluddin Saab, and all the other members and the participants. Thank you.
Shukran,
Assalamu
ma salama. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.